Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Basics of Using HomeGauge Home Inspection Software. My name is Bethany. I'm going to be doing most of the talking this webinar. We also have James here with us. He's going to be answering any questions that you guys might have along the way, providing some links on different topics as we go. So don't be hesitant to send him your questions as we're talking. If he does find a question he feels like the entire group could benefit from, he'll save that for one of our question and answer periods. But we'll try to get everybody answered. And then we'll have some extra time at the end of the webinar. If you guys want to go off topic a little bit, we can go over some other stuff there. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to preface this with there are two ways to start a report. The best way, in my opinion, is to utilize the appointments feature on your dashboard. The appointments feature will allow you to schedule an appointment, send your confirmation emails, even send a reminder along with a pre-inspection agreement, requesting your payment, all kinds of good stuff. And then at the end, it will also let you download your online appointment information into your software. It starts the report for you. That is not what we're going to talk about today. But if you're interested in the appointments feature, James has a link for you. He's going to be posting it to a video introduction to that feature. So today we're going to start from scratch. We're not going to use any additional features. We're going to build a report solely within our software. First thing you should always do, if you're not used to the software yet, make sure that you go through all of our top level menus. There are a lot of things that you can do with these menus. You won't remember them all, but it's good to familiarize yourself with what's happening up top. So you have lots of different options. You guys are probably going to spend a lot of time in HG services. In fact, if you're following along with us during this webinar, go ahead and get logged in. HG services, enter inspector HG username. Put in your username and password. You can tell it to always remember, and that'll go ahead and log you in. That'll be good for down the road. You also use this menu to upload your reports, to transfer reports to the cloud if you're utilizing the HomeGauge companion app, or even just transferring between computers. Kind of an up to you. But you'll find something of interest in all of these menus. So I would encourage you to just click through when you have a few minutes and get familiar. You'll notice that you have some icons down below. These guys are some of the more popular menu items that you'll find up in the top level. We try to make everything as convenient for you as we can, so we give you the stuff that you're going to use more frequently. Here's how you start a new report. Here's your open menu. You'll find all of the reports that you've done on this computer in your open menu. Lots of stuff you can do in here. This nice little gear wheel will let you make a copy of a report. You can create a reinspection, open a backup if you've got something going on. Maybe you had a computer crash and now the report won't open. You're able to roll back to a previous save if you need to. And you can delete stuff here. So play around in open reports. You'll find lots of fun things you can do. Save. Here's your print. If you're going to do a print preview on a report, you just click print instead of upload. That doesn't require your customer information or report information to be filled out yet. So if you're working backwards, that's a good thing to know about. Here's your upload function. Lots of editing buttons for your template up here in the top right. You'll find that these top level edit T, add T buttons control almost everything. If you don't see a smaller set of buttons near whatever you're trying to edit and change, it's probably controlled by your add T, edit T, delete T up top. So it's a good rule of thumb to follow. You also have some panels in your software, and we're going to just touch on those real quick before we kind of move into actually building the report. So I'm going to start with your picture panel. We're going to be using that today. A lot of you who are using HomeGauge Companion won't spend a lot of time with your picture panel. When you're using Companion, you're taking the pictures right in the report with the app, so you don't really have to bring anything up on the side and drag it in later on. But you guys that are using Companion that use a digital camera for your backup pictures, stuff like that, will still be utilizing this. Some little icons up top that you should know about. This is your browse button. This is how you point the panel at wherever you've got your pictures stored. So if I click on this little guy, I get a folder tree for my computer, and I can go and find the pictures that I want to use for this report. So in this case, I've got them on the desktop. You guys might find them under pictures. That's wherever you're saving them originally. So we'll go ahead and pull those up. They just pull up in preview form here on the right. Some other little buttons for you guys that are using the iFi Mobi cards. Maybe you're using a Surface Pro, something like that. This is your refresh button. So if you have one of those cards and it's auto loading into a certain folder that you've got your program pointing at, you hit refresh, it'll automatically bring up all the new pictures that have been added since the last time you hit that button. Also kind of handy if you put all of your pictures in one area on your computer. Every time you come back into the software, you won't have your preview here, but it'll still remember where you were pointing. So if you always keep all of your pictures that you haven't used yet in one folder, you can always just hit refresh and it'll just show you what's in that folder again. So that's kind of a nice little tip. For you guys that are on Windows 10, your options will be really handy. That's this little guy right here. It looks like a piece of paper with a pen on it. Windows 10, when you import pictures, has started to import the pictures into monthly folders. So you'll have a folder for April and June and July, and all of your pictures go into that one folder for the 1 month, which isn't as handy if you're a home inspector and you need to do several reports a day and you're taking pictures every day. It's a little hard to sort through all that. So if you're using options, here in the lower left, you can choose to show only pictures in the folder from a certain date. So you can look at yesterday, today, or you can set a date range right here. That will help you to cope with the fact that Windows is importing all of your pictures into one spot. So that'll help you kind of narrow the field if you need it. Other stuff up here, if you feel like this little preview area is too small, you need to see a bigger thumbnail, you can change your thumbnail width here, and it'll make that area larger in your software. You can also decide, what order you want to show your pictures, what information you want to display with your pictures. So right now I just have file names, but I can add my dates, things like that if I want to. So that's your options. This little guy right here is just a help button. Might be good for you if you forget something. It'll just open up our internal little help list here in the software. Some other things that you have here, you can choose to show all or hide used. So when you pull a picture into a report, normally if you're on show all, you'll get this effect where it's just kind of grayed out. You can tell that it's been used. For you guys that are building the report from scratch and you've got an SD card and you're looking at a whole bunch of pictures and pulling in defects, you may want to kind of whittle that down a little bit more. So if you choose to hide pictures you've already used, it'll just take it out of your panel. That way you'll eventually run out of pictures and you'll know you got everything. So you can toggle those back and forth. It's up to you. For you guys that are using a digital camera, maybe in conjunction with your companion to take your backup photos, if you pull your backup photos here in the picture panel, you can choose to select all of them. That's these 4 little red boxes here at the top of the panel. You'll notice that everything's highlighted now. We selected everything at once, and you can just throw all of those into your photo locker at once. So we haven't really talked about photo locker yet, so let me just kind of touch on that. Every report lives in a folder on your computer, every report that you do. And every picture that you pull into that report has both the edited picture that you've saved in the report itself and the original picture saved in that folder. So you have a folder inside that area that's called the photo locker where we keep all of your originals, just so everything's stored together. If you wanted your backup pictures to be stored there as well, which most folks do, hit your select all, and then the option would be to save selected to photo locker right here. It's just a real fast way to go ahead and stock those away so you don't have to worry about them. You can also take them out of the photo locker. Maybe you put them in the wrong one, something like that. It's possible. Up here you'll have an insert selected and an insert selected without editing. If you were to select multiple pictures, maybe 3 or 4 in a row, you could pull them all in and they'll all go together. And I'll show you that a little bit later on in the webinar, just so you know what that is. You've got a drawings panel here. Works a lot like your picture panel. You still have your browse option, your refresh, and your options. But we give you several drawings boilerplate when you download our software, and so that's already preloaded for you. You can use this little drop down right here to kind of choose a category and see all the different drawings that we have for you in the software. If you pick the wrong category, this little arrow here will take you up to your parent folder. You can try again. Okay, but other than that, same idea. Show all, hide used, select all, add to photo locker. Really the same icons. You can add your own drawings into this area as well as we have several folks out there that sell illustrations. We've got Home Systems Illustrated. Inspector Outlet has some options for you as well, so you can purchase them. You can just find them individually and save them. If you wanted to do something like that, I'll show you where they live in your computer. If you open your File Explorer, so here's our File Explorer. Most of you, unless you're on a Mac or we've had to do something, from the tech side with your computer, most of you will find your data folder for HomeGauge under Documents. And here's our HomeGauge folder. You actually have a folder in here called Drawings. So if you go in here, you'll see all those different categories. You would save your image into the appropriate category and it would start coming up along with all the other line drawings. So that's how you would add to that. And we can touch on that again during the question period if you'd like. But there's your photo panel and your picture or your drawings panel. Then after that, you find your contacts panel. We're going to probably spend more time in contacts a little bit later, but I'm just going to show you how to add a contact. You'll notice that I've got my software set to 0, so I don't have any contacts in here at all. If I did, I could look at them by showing reps, showing customers, or showing everybody all at the same time. And as you work on reports, you will build your contacts list and it'll grow kind of naturally. But you can add stuff as you go if you want to. I'm going to show you adding a real estate rep to your contacts list. We're going to need that a little bit later anyway. So to add a contact, it's this little guy with the plus sign. Make sure that you get the correct type of contact. A rep can do different things than a customer and vice versa. So a customer can only a customer can sign the pre-inspection agreement. A rep can add their photo and a little blurb so they can market themselves a little bit better. So make sure you get the right type of contact. So we're going to do a rep. And you'll get into this nice little window here with little tabs where you can keep up with stuff. All that you have to have for a real estate rep or a customer really is a name and an email address. You don't have to have company names and phone numbers and all that good stuff, but you might want to just so you can find it later if you need it. But name and phone on the first tab. This little second tab called HG username, this is where you keep up with the email address, and this is where you create a username so that your real estate rep can log in and get their reports later. That's important. So throw your email in there. And then you would create your username. So when I hit this button, create username, I'm going to get a little pop-up that wants me to enter a username. You don't have to enter a username. In fact, I recommend that you don't. I recommend you leave that blank, especially with a real estate representative, because it's very likely that they already have an account with HomeGauge. They've already done business with a HomeGauge inspector. If they don't, we'll auto-generate one for them based off their name. So it's not going to be a way far out there username. If you leave it blank, it'll go search the server and pull in what they already have. So we're just going to hit OK. It's added an account for us. You can say that I was already in existence. Now there's my username. Okay. You can also keep up with addresses, fax numbers. We even have a pager number spot in here. And then this little notes section here is actually just for you guys. If you want to keep up with your real estate rep's birthday or kids' names or their favorite color is green, whatever you want to keep up with, you can keep it in the notes field. It's kind of like a little tickle file. Once you hit OK, you'll see them coming up in your contacts panel here on the right. The fourth tab in this panel is your CYA or Check Your Answers panel. You guys can edit this. Don't try to edit it yet. If you don't have a template associated, it's not going to let you do a whole lot. But you'll get one of these different panels in each section that you're in. So each component, roofing, air conditioning, whatever it is. A lot of folks that have employees like to use it as a kind of a reminder for new employees. Hey, don't forget to check this, this, and this. Maybe you have a hard time remembering how to get to delta T. You could put that formula in here. and that'll help you keep up with that so you don't forget. You don't have to worry about blanking out on an inspection, something like that. If you wanted to edit it, that's this little guy with the pen. You can copy it to a clipboard. If you wanted to paste it somewhere else, you can, and we'll even let you print it. So that's your check your answers section. Now that we've gone through all of these panels, I know that was kind of a lot to digest all at once. We're going to pause briefly and we're going to see if we have any questions and take care of that. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in and we'll try to answer as many as we can. So I really just see one question in here, and it looks like James has answered it, but I'm going to just touch on it real quick. Alex B says, can I change the default location where the picture browse folder button looks for photos? Your browse area will always be defaulted to the last thing you were looking at. So if I'm looking at webinar pics and then I close my software and I go back in, it's still going to be looking at webinar pics. It'll default to whatever you left it on last. So look, I can hit preview. Here they come again. So it's more of a housekeeping thing. Josh G says, do the photos automatically enter into the photo locker? So Josh, if you have a picture and you have pulled it into your report, in other words, it's a part of your report, it lives with a comment, then yes, it's automatically in the photo locker. If you have not put that picture in the report, then you would have to manually add it, which is what I was talking about with select all and then the save selected to photo locker icon right here. So that's how you would manually enter it. If you are pulling a picture into the report, your original is automatically saved into your photo locker. Even if you go back later and you delete that picture out of the report, the photo locker still has your original. Anytime it touches your report, it's in there automatically. Aaron H says, how do I log in if I forgot my login info? Aaron, if you forgot your login info, you can go to homegauge.com online and click log in. There's going to be an I forgot my password link right under the login username and password area. Just put your email address in and we'll automatically email you your username and password so you'll have it. Kevin H says, does the photo locker store an unlimited amount of pictures? Any size limitations? Kevin, the size limitation is up to you and your PC. If you run out of storage, as with anything, then you will not be able to store any more photos. But if it's just a picture putting you over, you probably already knew about that. There's not really a huge limitation going on, especially from HomeGauge. It'd just be about what your computer can hold. Since it all lives in your PC, it's not being uploaded, things like that. So you can do what you want with it. Greg wants to know if James can send out an email to everybody with the links he's providing. Yes, we will get in touch with you guys with links. We normally have a handout, but we're having a little bit of a technical issue on this side, so we'll make sure we get you that page. Alex B says, login. If I have two separate HG accounts working for two different companies, will that create any issues or anything I should be aware of? Alex, I will probably do an entirely separate webinar at some point on working for more than one company. Because you're looking at maybe creating alternate cover pages, different print document settings for upload, stuff like that. But as far as the login goes, no, you'll just go up to HD Services, enter Inspector HD username, enter the login information for whoever you're working for that day. If you're contracting with 2 different companies, you'll have 2 different logins. Whoever you're logged in as is where the report goes. So just make sure you keep up with who you're working for that day. That's all. I will also say if you are working for multiple companies and need help setting up cover pages and different print document settings, you are welcome to give our support team a call. We're available 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are at 828-254-2030. We're always happy to walk you through stuff like that if you're having that happen now. Aaron H. says, I'm just starting out and want to prepare a few practice reports to see what I like best. Is that okay? Yes, please do that. You're going to want to look at our different templates. You're going to want to try the different styles and formats. We always suggest do a practice report on your own home or a neighbor. Get familiarized with your software before you take it out into the field, for sure. We definitely encourage that. So we're going to give this another maybe minute, see if we have any other questions come through, and then we're going to keep going, okay? Okay, guys, it doesn't look like we have any more questions, at least for right now, so we're just going to keep on going. I'm going to take you into your sections panel, which is located here on the left-hand side. Really, when you're first starting out, we're just going to work from top down. You guys aren't required to start in your customer section. You can start anywhere you want. But I find it a little bit easier when I'm teaching to kind of follow that line. So we're going to start with your customer section. All right, so this is your customer information page. All that's really required here, you're going to hear me say this probably a few more times. I know you've already heard it once, but all that's required here is a name and an email address to create a username for your customer. Again, you might want to keep up with phone numbers, billing addresses, things like that. It's an up to you. But if you're going to distribute your report in HTML, which I definitely encourage, we'll talk about a little bit more at the end of the webinar, you need a username so that your customer can take advantage of everything that your report's going to be able to offer. So we're going to put in a customer name here. And we're going to put in an email address. Once you have a first and last name and an email address, you can create your username. So again, when I hit this button, it's going to say, well, what would you like the username to be? Again, I recommend leaving it blank. Let it go look in our server, find the username, and pull it in. Because if they already have an account floating around out there and you're typing in an entirely different username, you're just going to end up with an error message. So it's best really if you just let the server pull it in for you. But we'll hit OK. Here's my existing account, found and added. And now here's my username. The other thing that I would say about your customer page here is that if you have maybe a husband and wife or 2 investors that are working together and they both want to be listed on the report, please, 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 please let them have their own separate usernames. You can use the Add Customer button here in the upper right. even if you don't have an email address for the second person. You don't have to. You can still have them listed in the report. If you tie these guys together, if we have Fabulous and Bob customer, and Fabulous and Bob is a first name, then if these two people split up somewhere down the road, and Bob has a new wife, and Bob goes to buy a house with his new wife, you're going to have a little bit of an awkward phone call when his first wife's name is showing up in the username section. You can avoid all of that by just keeping everybody separate. So one customer, one email address, one username. Add customer for the second. Even if you don't have all that information, it'll still print on your cover page, and everybody's still happy that everybody's on the report, and you're just saving yourself some trouble down the road. So please keep everybody separate. Give them their own customer page. Okay? So that's our customer section. We'll go ahead and go down into report info before we stop for questions again. This is your report information page. The very first thing you'll see here is your report ID. Your report ID is not required, but if you use the report ID section, you might find that you have a little bit of an easier time down the road. The reason for that is because of the way that we store your reports. Your report ID actually titles the file folder that holds all of your report info. So if I'm in here and I'm looking for a certain report, maybe I need to go and find the photo locker so I can pull an original, somebody's making a phone call, something like that. It's a lot easier to find my report ID that I typed in that makes sense than it is to go and try to decide what sequential automatic number my report info might live under. So if you use a report ID, you'll have a little bit better time finding things down the road. Maybe you have to do a manual transfer. Maybe you're looking for an original photo, whatever it is. The only other thing I would say about that is please use some sort of a system that's not easy to duplicate. If you're using report IDs and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, then eventually you're going to forget that you already had a 3 and you're going to end up with 2 3s. Your computer will treat those as the same file. Everything will get blended together. It's a mess. You'll definitely have to call me. You're just going to have a small headache. So I suggest, use something like a combo of the date of the inspection and the property address, something that you can't easily duplicate. Because while you may do a re-inspection on a property address, you're probably not doing it same day. So if I were to do that, I would do something like 810 17 123 Sample Street. That would be my report ID. So if I had to go find that later, it'd be pretty easy to identify because there's my street address and the date that I did it. It's up to you, not required. I would encourage you to use it. I think you'll find that it saves you time at some point later on. You'll also notice you can change your date here if you want to. Maybe you already did this report and you've got all your pictures, but that was yesterday, and you need to say, nope, that was yesterday. You can do that. You can also keep up with start time and stop time. Most of you in the country aren't required to keep up with that, but there are some states that do require it. If you are in one of those states, please do record your start and stop times. It's not required for HomeGauge, so you have to be aware of what the requirements are in the area that you're in. You also throw in your property address here. This is the property we're going to be inspecting. Okay, you have to, if you're uploading the report and you're going to distribute online, you need to have your street address, your city, your state, and your zip code. You don't have to have your country or your county or your MLS number. That's all optional. You can keep up with it if you want. But you do need a proper full address when you're going to upload. Here's also where you add your real estate representatives. So that's in your report info section. You'll notice it doesn't look anything like your customer page. And that's because for most real estate pros, you're going to use them more than once, which means they are already in your contacts list. So you'll remember we added a rep at the beginning of the webinar. We're going to come over to our contacts list and pick that rep out of the list. You'll notice you have a little search field right up top. If you have a whole bunch of folks in there, you can type a last name, bring it up that way. here's our rep. We're going to choose it so it's highlighted blue. And we're going to hit this button that says Add from Reps List. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Now my rep is attached to this report. So that's adding a real estate pro. You'll notice you can control your contact a little bit from this page if you want to. If I click on this, I can edit it. I can take it out. I can designate it as a certain role, so buyer's agent, listing agent, whatever it is. I don't have to. Most folks don't. It's up to you and how you operate your business and what you want to track. So that's how you add your real estate representative. The only other thing on this page is your inspector information. Your inspector info, when you activate your license, is locked in. Your inspector name, your company name. You can always change your address and your contact info, so your phone number, stuff like that. That's always under options and inspector and license. So if you wanted to permanently change your address or your phone number, you can change it here and hit OK, and all of your future reports will have that change. But maybe you need to change something just for this one report, or maybe you went up and you changed it here, but you'd already started this report. You need to kind of go back and fix it on that one too. You have a button here called Current Inspector. When you click that, it'll let you adjust your inspector name and company name and contact info for this one report only. So maybe you were mentoring someone that day and you need to list their name as well on your cover page. Maybe you're working for more than one company and you need to make sure the company name is the right one for the one you're working for today. Maybe you just need to adjust your contact info for some reason. This is how. Current Inspector, type right in here. It'll change it for this one report only. Okay? So there's your report info section. Before we jump into your miscellaneous section, that covers a lot, we're going to do a brief pause for questions, see if we have any questions on our customer or report info sections, and then we'll move on. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type them. We have one question from Michael M. Michael says, where I have my home office is not an ideal, highly marketable location. Do I have to enter a physical address? No, you don't, Michael. You can keep just a web address in there or just a phone number. You don't have to have anything there. It's not required. Plenty of guys aren't giving out their home address, you know, when they're going off on inspection reports. So you just put what you're comfortable with there. It doesn't even have to be contact information if you don't want it to be. Maybe you just have a slogan you like to put on the front page. You can do that there, but definitely not a requirement that you put a physical address in. Scott T says, it seems much easier to use the appointment option. Is there a benefit to doing it this way? Scott, it's definitely better to use appointments on your dashboard. Some guys, for whatever reason, do not want to. Maybe they don't want to be online. Maybe they're only going to create PDFs for the rest of eternity. But no, yeah, you should definitely use appointments. If you have that option, it is a great, great, great feature, and it will make your life a lot easier, and you should use it. We'll get into selecting report templates and actually adding auto comments, stuff like that, in just a few minutes after we get through miscellaneous. But if you're using appointments, you're never really going to have to fill out your customer report info or even miscellaneous sections. All of that will be done for you when you do appointments and you download it into your software. So again, James has got some links he's been sending out. We'll give you guys a link sheet towards the end of this once we get everything sorted on the technical side so that you can actually go see the appointments feature if you're not familiar, stuff like that. But definitely better to use appointments. If you have that option and you're okay with it, please use it. It's awesome. Okay. Alex B says, how does this work if you use ISN as well? Do you have to enter the info in two places, or can they interchange customer info, etc.? So while we definitely promote our appointments feature and we feel like it does a lot for you and it's included in your services cost, so you're not paying anything additional for it, if you decide you're going to use ISN instead, we do integrate with them. There's a location on your dashboard under account settings, HomeGauge partners, where you're going to put in some access keys that they give you. And that way, when you go to HG services and you download your online appointments, you're actually going to be downloading those appointments from ISN. Your report will still be started for you. Obviously, it's not going to be requesting payment, sending pre-inspection agreements, stuff like that on our side for you. But you can still import all that info and start the report in the software. Okay, so guys, let's move right along and get into our miscellaneous section. Several things to know about in miscellaneous. That's why we call it that. It covers a whole bunch of stuff. You'll notice you have 5 tabs when you go into your miscellaneous section. The very first one is attachments. I'm going to lead with this attach agreement area that you have at the very top of your attachments tab. That's a legacy item. I don't want you guys to ever use it. The reason for that is we have a way now on your dashboard to distribute multiple agreements without ever having to touch your software. You can do it through appointments or you can do it outside of appointments. It's up to you. But this is a way, if you have your agreement loaded into your software and you maybe have an alternate agreement for commercial inspections or whatever it is, this is a way to overtake that agreement that normally lives in your software and use a different one. And that's why you would hit attach agreement to do that. If you guys do not have an agreement in your software, do not have an agreement set up on your dashboard yet, but you have some text and you know what you'd like to use, please send that to support@homegauge.com. We'll go ahead and put it into HTML for you, load it to your dashboard if you've already gone through and accepted our terms, and send it back to you with some instructions on how to put it into your software. But please don't use your attach agreement button on the attachments page for agreements. It's really a legacy item. It's going to go away in a future update. It's just not needed anymore. So that's my little speech. The other thing in your attachments tab is the important part. Other attachments right here. This is how you would attach anything to your report that doesn't naturally go there. So maybe you have marketing flyers that you like to hand out in certain situations. Here's a reminder of, when you need to change your air filters, or here's how to clean your pool, or maybe just even a list of nice places to eat in this area, whatever it is. You can attach those so that they're in kind of list form with your little paperclip guy right here under the other report attachments. That'll give you a list that you can just go click off. So it'll just go ahead and attach for you. Don't click on that yet. It actually keeps up with all that through your template. So until we go select a template, you won't be able to add anything to that list. The reason most people use it is to maybe attach a PDF of a sewer scope that you farmed out to somebody else, or maybe you have a continuous radon monitor and it puts out a PDF report and you wanted to attach that to your report. That's the little plus sign right here under the report and other report attachments. So when we click on that, it's going to open up a file explorer so we can browse to wherever that PDF is on our PC. So let me go find a PDF so you can see how that works. Here's one. It's going to pop up here in a sec, and it's going to ask me to name my attachment. It's not because it doesn't already know the file name, but this is what the link that shows up on the attachments page in your report will say. So for you guys that are floating around in Florida, I know you do a lot of win mits and 4 points, and everybody's always having to send that out to the insurance agent or whatever it is. Be careful what you type here, because you can direct them a little bit better if you type better text. So let's see. We'll name our document. And then we can say, click here. Or you can say, for insurance, whatever you want to do to give a little more instruction. It's up to you. But you'll see that when we get to the preview. I'll show you your attachments page, and you'll see how it kind of prints that out. that's how we'd attach an alternate PDF. So radon results, sewer scopes, whatever you have, that's where your attachments go. You can move them up and down. If I had more than one, I could use these arrows here to arrange them in the order that I prefer. It's up to you what you do with it, but we definitely give you the tools. Your second tab is your invoice tab. If you use appointments, you won't really ever have to come here. But if you don't, your invoice tab holds all of your service items. So these are the ones that come boilerplate with the software. If you're looking at boilerplate service items, you probably need to edit them or change them somehow, some way. It's not going to have your pricing. It's not going to have your service name, stuff like that. If you wanted to edit one of these services, you just click on it so it's highlighted in blue, and then you have some small buttons here that run down the right-hand side. This one will let me add a whole new service. The edit wrench right here will let me change the service that I've got highlighted, so I can change my name, my pricing. If you'll notice, for you guys that are in states that require taxes on services, you can add that tax here so it'll automatically figure it out. Just put your tax rate, check the box. That's how you would change all that. Maybe you have some services that you use way more frequently than others. You can use your arrows here to rearrange so that your more frequently used service items are up top. But you come in here, you mark off the service that you're going to be performing that day. You can mark off more than one. The invoice tab will do the math for you. You have some little drop downs down here for payment method, status, if you're still waiting, whatever it is. You can mark all that off. If you want to change what comes up in these little drop downs, you can hit edit next to each one. When you do that, you'll get a little window that'll allow you to add more options. So that's how you change that. It's your invoice tab. Again, if you're using appointments, the stuff is already filled out for you. But if you're not, you want to go through and make sure all of your items are correct, right pricing, stuff like that, so that you're ready for your next job. Your third tab is your inspector info tab. I'm going to actually skip inspector comments and come right back to it. I'll show you first that you can keep up with your lead sources here. If you don't see a lead source that you really want to track, if you hit edit lead sources, you can add to this drop down so you can track whatever you want. You can keep up with your mileage right here. Driving directions, written driving directions, don't forget to turn at the red barn, things like that. You can type right in. If you click your map button and you have an address put in under report info, it'll actually take you to MapQuest, Google Maps, whatever your preferred provider is, so that you can look at directions online. That map button will take you there. So the only other thing in this page is inspector comments. And the reason I saved it for last is because if you are from Texas, this inspector comments area actually prints in your report. The Texas Real Estate Commission has an intro that everybody has to use in Texas, and in that intro is a section for additional comments by the inspector. This inspector comments area here under your inspector info tab, that's where those additional comments come from if you're in Texas. For every other state or country, inspector comments is just for you. You can keep up with your gate codes, watch out for the attack chihuahua, whatever you need to keep up with here. Nobody ever sees that but you. But if you are in Texas, watch what you put there because it's going to print on your report. So, inspector info. We have another tab here called radon tests. This tab is specifically for AirCheck radon kits. AirCheck is an independent lab that we partner with. They do the charcoal test kits that you mail in. If you purchase your radon kits through HomeGauge, they will actually load the kit numbers into your software for you. So when you go and you hang your kits, you go in here to the report, choose your numbers, set your time, room tested, all this information, and you'll hit upload AirCheck radon test start here at the bottom. That'll send all that information to the lab so that when you do mail in your kit, when you go back and take it down, they'll already know what information belongs to it. So they're actually going to load your results directly onto your dashboard to the report that it's associated with. It makes your life a little bit easier, which is why we partnered with them. James has a link for that. If anybody's interested in the AirCheck stuff, you follow that link and you'll get a little more information. Okay? The last tab in miscellaneous is forms. Some of you will use forms a lot. Some of you will not. Depends on where you are. If you do, WDO reports, things like that, then we sell some of those forms. You can use our writable PDFs to fill out your WDOs, your NPMA 33, whatever it is. If you're in Florida, like I said, you're doing a lot of win mints and 4 points. We give you those boilerplate. You don't have to pay for them. They're already there. So I'm just going to choose a form. If you didn't see how I did that, this little plus sign right here in the upper right of your Forms tab will let you pick a form. So I'll just go ahead and choose the Win Mitt here for Florida. And you'll see the form coming up here in the center. These little guys that you see with asterisks are actually merge fields. So anytime you see asterisk with some text and then another asterisk, that should indicate to you that the information for that field is going to automatically fill in from elsewhere in your report. So your customer client full names, one line here comes from your customer section. It just prevents you from double typing. There are some areas where you will need to type on your own, as always. You can actually type in here and get it all set up if you want. There are some forms that require license numbers, phone numbers that are never going to change. If you'll fill all that out without any identifying information, you can actually set your defaults from current here at the top, and it'll save all that info for you. You guys that are in Florida know that win mints need to come with pictures. If you have pictures that you need to attach to your form, we have a whole separate page for that called the picture page. To add that, all we would do is come up here to the little plus sign and choose picture page from the list. Okay. You get a whole new tab. All you need to remember to do here is instead of attached to report, you want to mark append to previous. That'll put this picture page at the bottom of the form in front of it. So now when I have pictures here, they'll actually attach to the bottom of this page. All of this information that you're inputting into these areas will turn itself into an official form, a PDF form for whatever state you're in, whatever form it is. It'll kind of convert. You can load your signature and initials into your software so that these forms are automatically signed. If you'd like to do that, if you'll send us an image, either scan a piece of paper or take a picture of it with your signature and your initials on it, send that to support@homegauge.com. We'll size it for you and send it back to you with step-by-step instructions. This is your forms page. You've got lots of stuff in here. Play around with it, see what you've got. There's a radon, just writable PDF form for you guys that are using the continuous radon monitors that have the little ticker tape output. They're not really giving you a full PDF. It gives you a little something to display your results a little bit more nicely in. So lots of different little things in your forms. So that's your miscellaneous section. Lots of stuff in the miscellaneous section to learn about. We're going to pause for a few minutes and take some questions. I know you guys will have some. We went through a lot of information just now. So give us a brief pause, and then we'll be answering some questions, and then we'll keep going. Scott T wants to know if he changes services under the invoice section, do we have to change it at the appointment page as well, or vice versa? So vice versa, Scott. I would encourage you to always, if you're using the appointments feature on your dashboard, keep your services up to date on the appointments feature on your dashboard. The reason for that is when you download your online appointment, any items that you have that you've selected for services are going to be downloaded as well into the report. So all that stuff's already selected for you. It comes from your dashboard. You're not going to be able to change it here in your invoice tab and it go the other way. But when you update your appointment services and you're downloading your appointments, that stuff comes with the rest of the information for that appointment. So it's always going to be right if you're doing it that way. Greg C says, is that true for contracts as well? Greg, I'm assuming that you mean where do I update my contract if I'm using appointments? And the answer is the same. You want to update your pre-inspection agreement information on the appointments feature because that's actually where those documents get created if you're using the appointments feature. And when you pull your information in, it won't actually affect that document. It's already been created at that point. So you definitely always want to update your pre-inspection agreement in your appointments feature on your dashboard if you're using that feature. Okay. Okay, so guys, one more question and then we're going to keep on going. It looks like, is there a link to training for appointments dashboard that James can send out? Yes, James absolutely has a link for that. He should have already given it to you at the beginning of our webinar, but we're going to have a handout for you guys at the end, and that'll have all of the links on it as well. If you're ever really curious about something and you don't have a link for it already, you can go to support.homegauge.com. We have lots and lots of different written walkthroughs there, different videos. We're happy to get all of your questions answered there as well. If you see that we're missing some information, there's a way to ask a question, and we'll respond to that and answer your question that way too. So let's kind of keep going. We're going to talk a little bit about selecting a template. So when you click on Select Report Template in your Sections panel, you're going to see that you have a lot of options, okay? I'll tell you right out the gate, Systems Residential is our most popular template, hands down. And that's the one I'll show you today, but you have lots and lots of different choices. You've got some specific to Canada. You got some specific to commercial. There are some InterNACHI. There's an InterNACHI template here. It's a lot like our residential systems, but it's got some InterNACHI language to it. Mold, some state-specific stuff. If you guys are in North Carolina, there are certain requirements that have to be met. So we've got some templates set up just for you. Same for Texas. If you're in Texas, you know better than anybody that you need to be using Track 7-5. We give you that template so that you don't have to worry about it. Anytime Track issues an update, we update as well. Keep everybody on the straight and narrow. The main differences in templates is just kind of how you like to report. So there are some templates that are room by room. Those templates take you through every single room. You're marking every single item as inspected every single time. There's system by system. That's where you're recording your deficiencies in the system. So if you're in the bedroom and there's something wrong with the electrical outlet, you're not going to record it in the bedroom. You're going to record it in electrical. So all of your electrical problems are in this section, and all of your roofing problems are in this section. Things like that. There's also some fast templates in here. I'm not going to get into that too much, but for you guys that are attending that are a little bit more advanced, Russell made those fast templates for use with the HomeGauge companion. A lot of folks didn't want to mark things inspected anymore. They felt like it was too many clicks. So he's eliminated that grid that you're going to see here in a moment. That's your fast template. You can find out more information about that at our support center if you're curious. We may have a webinar specifically about that and some other things down the road. I would encourage you guys that haven't done reporting with this yet or that haven't had a chance to look to please go select multiple templates, start multiple sample reports, poke around at everything. You're going to find one that fits your style better than any other one. And that's the one you should use. And it's not going to be perfect. You're going to modify it to make it perfect. So get as close as you can to your style, and then we can edit it from there to tweak it to be just right for you. That's the goal. For now, for this webinar, we're going to just start with Systems Residential. Like I said, it's our most popular. So we'll open that up. And when you select your template, you'll notice that you get a whole bunch more to do over in your Sections panel on the left here. So the very first thing you'll see is your general info. We have a comment key here. The reason we have a comment key, if you haven't seen it yet, is that we actually give you some grids to work with. You can mark items inspected, not present, repair, replace. And if you choose a certain style when you're putting out your report, your customer will actually see those grids. So if they're seeing that, you want them to know what that stuff means. So we're giving you some definitions. You can edit this. You can change it to say whatever you like, as well as you can change your column headers to say whatever you like. James actually has a link on editing your general report information. I'm not going to dive too far into it, but I will tell you that this text is an auto comment that's just marked to be there on report start. So your auto comment wand is this little guy at the very top. It looks like a magic wand to me. That's why I call it that. If you click on it, you'll see all of the possibilities for this area. You can tell which one is set to be there on report start because of the Y here in this auto column. So if I wanted to change this permanently, I would come in here to this list and then I would choose to edit it with my edit T up top. People get a little confused by that because you can just type right into this area. If you typed into this area, this is a per report change. So this would only change for this one report, and then it would revert back to what it was before for the next one, which is also handy. It's just important to know that there's a way to do both. Okay. It's also where your cover page picture lives here in general info. So let me find a cover page picture to throw in here. Oh, there we go. There's one. So if you have your pictures in your picture panel, you can click and drag right into this area where your cover page picture goes, and it'll pull up the editor and you can size it appropriately, right? You don't do a whole lot of editing on a cover page picture. We're not going to be throwing a bunch of arrows and circles in here, but you probably want to size it. We're going to talk about your picture editor a little bit more in depth here in a moment, so I'm going to kind of keep going here, but just hit OK. There's my cover page picture. You can also put videos here. We actually kind of encourage you to do that. It's good marketing. If you do like a little 10-second pan of the backyard, or hey, this is your neighborhood, or something like that, it kind of helps you with word of mouth. Someone that's buying their first home that has a home inspection report with a video of what the home looks like, we'll share that with friends. So you could throw a video in there if you want. You'll notice you have a spot for a picture label. You don't have to use it. This is what displays on your cover page. You also have some general items at the bottom. So you can mark who's in attendance, what type of building are we inspecting, how old is it, all of this, right? You'll notice some of it is excluded. So maybe you don't want to say which direction the home faces, or maybe you do. This particular item has been excluded by default, which means every time the report starts, this item isn't showing up. If I wanted it to show up in my report, I'd come over to the exclude column and just unexit, and now I can pick one, right? If I didn't want to answer something that is showing up, I can click into my exclude column and it'll take it right out of the report. If you wanted to control that stuff, as well as if you wanted to control the options that you have here on the right-hand side to choose from, that's your Edit T button at the very top of the software. You click on whatever it is you want to change, hit Edit T up top, and you'll get a window that allows you to edit a lot of things. So here's my style and material name. Here are my options. If I wanted to add another option, I could hit +T. It'll let me do that. If I wanted to edit what's in here, I've got a wrench for that too. I can delete things. I can move stuff up and down on the list. If it's going to be a long list and it's a little easier to get the most popular items up top, that's doable. Your exclude by default is actually down here about 3/4 of the way down the page. It's just a checkbox. If I check this, the next time I open the report, this particular general item will be excluded. It'll stay that way until I go change it. So that's how you do all that good stuff. Please, please, if you're not going to fill one of these out, exclude it. If you do not, it's going to look like an item that you didn't answer on your report. And I'm going to leave these last two not answered and not excluded just so you can see that when we get to the preview area, because it won't happen every time, but if you leave something unexcluded and you don't answer the question, even if you talked to your customer about whether or not they wanted a radon test and they said emphatically no, they will still call you and ask you why you didn't do a radon test if you don't fill that out, or at least take it out of your report. They won't all do it, but it'll happen enough to where you get annoyed. So save yourself that trouble and have a more professional looking report, and utilize your exclude column when you need it. So that's your general information area. After you get into your general info here, I'm going to show you that you can have a components area as well, since we're talking about editing a little bit. This little guy in your sections panel, the word components, it looks like a header, but it's actually a clickable link, and when you click it, you'll get a main list of all of your components in the center of your screen. So if I wanted to change exterior and make it say something else, I could. I would click on it and I'd use my edit T, and I could change that name, right? If I wanted to always have built-in kitchen appliances excluded unless I go purposely turn it back on, I can edit that, and I could go click this little exclude by default button, and then that would happen for me. I can move things around with my arrows. So if I wanted to change the order that things are displayed in the report, I can do that here. I could add whole new components with my add T up top. This particular area can be a little confusing in that you actually have some small editing icons and the large ones in play. This little area here with the small icons, this is our duplicate sections feature. If you have a home that maybe has two garages, one's attached, one's unattached, and you're inspecting both, you want to be able to call out your defects in both areas. You want it to be very clear what you're talking about. So if you highlight garage here and you come up to your duplicate sections button, you can hit this little double plus sign here. And we give you some boilerplate so you can just click on to make typing a little bit easier, or you can type right in here and name it whatever you want. But it gives you a way to kind of duplicate your garage section. So if I hit OK, you'll notice now I have two garage components, one attached and one detached. That'll help you to keep everything that you're making comments on in your report as clear as possible. Your customer won't be confused about which garage you're talking about, because they'll see it right there. You can do that with any component. So you might get into a situation where you're maybe inspecting a condo. So with a condo, you're not necessarily looking at roofing or exterior. Here we can exclude those, but maybe the condo has, for some reason, multiple interiors, or maybe they do have multiple garages. Whatever it is, you can use this components area to modify your report to suit the situation you're inspecting that day, is what I'm trying to get at here. So use your duplicate sections, exclude what you need to, unexclude what you need to. It's whatever, whatever works for that particular situation, but that's how you do that, by clicking components. Okay, I'm going to stop right here for some questions, just so you'll have some time to talk about this components area, talk about your general info before we climb into your actual components and adding pictures and saving comments, stuff like that. So we're going to pause for a moment, and then we'll be right back with answers for questions. Okay, guys, it doesn't look like, at least for right now, there are any. Oh, actually, there's one. So let's see. Alex B says, before I start monkeying around with templates, what is the proper way to back up the original templates, just in case I screw up and need to revert to the original? So that's a really good question. If you want to keep your originals intact, you can come up here to File at the top of your software, and you can choose Save Template As. When you do that, you're going to get a window up that looks like your Select Template window, but it's actually how you're going to save, so you can give it a whole new name. You can leave a new template, but that might get confusing if you do it more than once. So maybe make it Alex's template or whatever it is, and then hit Save. and that'll give you a copy of your original template. You'll already actually be in the saved template. It'll rename the one you're working with, and you can keep on going from there. So Ken E says, when adding an interior room, for example, multiple bathrooms, do I click duplicate and add those specific rooms? You can. Your system to system template is in a room by room, so you'll see that you don't actually have a bedroom, a bathroom, a kitchen, a dining room, things like that. You're just really reporting on interiors in general. So if you have a problem in the ceiling in a bedroom, you'll say, I have a problem in the ceiling in this bedroom, and here's a picture of it under ceilings, and that'll be it. But if you're in a room by room template, then yes, you're going to duplicate a lot more because you're going to want to list every single room in that house. That is what you would use that for. So if you wanted to say bedroom, bathroom, whatever it is, you can go into components. Here's interiors. We've got it selected. We can duplicate here. So here's a living room. Here's a bedroom. And then you just keep going until you run out of rooms. Just keep duplicating. So, and you can type right in here. We've not got something in the list for you. It's up to you. But you can kind of get an idea there of how you would flesh that out. If you duplicate too much, if you feel like it's gotten out of hand, you have a delete option for your duplicates as well. So you can take them all right back off the list. That's definitely the point of duplicating, yeah. So we're going to move right along here. So let's talk a little bit about what happens when we go into a component. So we're just going to go into roofing. Let me just warn you guys, none of the pictures that I pull in are going to make sense. None of them are going to belong to the correct inspection item. I'm not even going to attempt to understand home inspections the way you guys do. I find that it just confuses us all when I try. So don't judge me too harshly. I can definitely help you with your computer later, but I'm not going in the crawl space with you. So pictures won't make sense. Anyhow, when you get into your component, you'll see that you have 3 tabs. You've got inspection items, styles and materials, and overview. We're going to go through all of them. Your inspection items you'll spend the most time with, I would assume. This is where you can mark items as repair replace. So if you have a problem with the roof covering, you can mark it repair replace. When you do that, this particular column is set up to automatically feed any comments you have when you've marked it that way into your summary. So if you'll notice, if you look down at the bottom of your comment area, you've got a checkbox in summary now. You can control that manually as well, but it just makes life a little bit faster because that column is set up that way. You would put your comment right here. So I have a problem with my roof covering. I can choose an auto comment. Maybe the roof covering's just old. If you guys didn't see that, your auto comment wand is right here. It looks like a little magic wand. Choose from the list. Roof is old. Insert. There it goes. Okay. So I can insert a comment this way, and I can throw a picture in to go with it. Like I said, I'm not making sense. Since we've got a picture up, I'll show you real quick. I'm going to add some arrows. Hey, none of this makes sense. What do we do? If you can even put text in here. If you're like me and you just made a giant mess, you can revert back to your original photo without having to go and remove every single one. You can. If you're on select, you can pick your item and hit remove, and it'll take it off one at a time. Or you can choose to revert to photo locker here at the very bottom, and that just gives you your original photo back. You can size up top. Just as an aside, if you guys want to set what size your pictures come in at by default so that you don't have to come up here and click medium every time, you can hit your edit default settings button here in the lower right, and that'll let you choose not only what you want your inspection item pictures to be sized at, but also your cover picture and your overview pictures. So you can set, what colors you want for your arrows, your text windows, all that good stuff. So that's how you'd pull in a picture. If you had more than one problem with roof coverings, so maybe the roof is old, but there's also something else going on, you would want to not put all of that in one comment area. You want to keep that separate so you can itemize your comments when that happens. That's this little plus sign here right up above your picture area. So if I hit itemize, it'll give me a new tab where I can put a new comment. So maybe this time I'm going to type my comment because I don't have an auto comment that suits this particular issue. But maybe I know that I'm going to need to use this on a different report someday. I like the way this looks. Let's save this comment. So if you have to type in a comment and you'd like to save it so it's available in your auto comments list later, it's actually the second little button here. Looks like a little magic wand with a plus sign on it. So when you click this, it'll say create new auto comment when you hover, but when you click it, it'll give you a little edit window. It's going to ask you for a nickname for your comment. So here's my nickname so I can find it a little bit faster. If you'll notice, I won't dive too deeply into this, but you can actually attach a PDF to come in automatically with this comment. That's this button here. You can attach a picture, so maybe you have a line drawing. Maybe we're talking about the way something should look, and here's what's wrong. Here's the picture of your thing that looks horrible, and here's a picture of what it should look like. You can do that. You can attach a picture here. When I click this button, I get a little document list, plus sign to browse. Let's see what we've got. So here's my picture I'm going to attach, right? There it goes. Once its little description. So now I have a picture attached to my comment, and I can hit OK. It's going to say, hey, where do you want to file this? We won't get too hardcore into global list in a basics webinar, but anytime you save a comment, your software is going to ask you where you'd like to put it, what category it belongs in. This is a category inside your global list, which I'd like you to think of that as the giant filing cabinet that holds all of your comments for that template. So not just roofing comments, not just exterior comments, all of your comments in one spot. So you're going to find something that kind of makes sense. So I can scroll through here and I can just pick roofing, or I can pick chimney, flashing, whatever I want. You can actually adjust those to where they show different categories. We'll get into that in a more advanced webinar. But the reason I say that is because now when I go to select my comment, which here it is, there's my auto comment that I saved. I can look in my category filter, say I have a whole bunch of stuff going on here and I don't want to scroll through everything. If I use my category filter up top, I can go and look for specific areas. So maybe I just want to look at flat stuff or tree limbs. Where's that comment? I can pick all that with my filter, and the filter is determined by what comment category you choose to put your auto comment in at the end of that save process. So be aware of that. Give it something that makes sense. It'll make life a little easier for you down the road when you have a whole bunch of comments to choose from to filter. So when I add this comment, now that I've saved it, you'll see it pops up that picture that I attached to it right away. I can circle and arrow to my heart's content. There it is. So now I've got 3 different comments, 2 of which have pictures. Maybe this is a duplicate and I don't want it. I have a little X here. That's how I would delete. Maybe comment number 2 is the most important comment. So I can use these arrows here to move stuff around. Maybe only one of these items needs to go to my summary. Maybe the other one is just observational. I can come down here and manually uncheck summary. And now my first item is going to my summary, but my second one is not. So I can control all of that stuff right down here. Another fun thing, if you're one of those guys that just pulls in defects first and marks everything repair, replace, and then goes back and does the cleanup after, double clicking at the top of one of these column headers will fill in the blanks for everything that's left over. So we can mark all that other stuff inspected if we want. This is your inspection items tab. Okay. You also have a style and materials tab here. So I can go and say, what materials were used on my roof covering? How did I view the roof? Maybe I didn't have any skylights and I don't want to say none. I can exclude that just like I can in my general items from before. Again, please don't just leave something blank. Someone will call and ask you why you didn't do that. I know they should know if they have skylights, but it'll happen. So just, That's your styles and materials. If I needed to add something to this list, maybe I missed something, maybe there's some material I've encountered that's not in my options, that would be the Edit T button up top. So when I hit that, again, you get your style material edit window. You can change the name. You can add options with the plus T here. We can exclude things by default, just like in your general items that we looked at. That's how you would handle that. I will point out right now that our Save T button is lit up. That's because I've been making some template changes. For you guys that are new, that are saving auto comments, that are editing styles and materials, that are maybe changing your general intro text, it's kind of important that you keep up with your Save T. Not for us, but for you. If you click your Save T, every single time it lights up, that'll be your double check that you did it right. So like I said, there are some things that you can change just for one report, or you can change permanently for every report, like your general intro. If you click your Save T every time so that it's grayed out again once you've made your edit, if you go in and you try to change something permanently and your Save T doesn't light up, you'll know you didn't do it right. If it does light up, you totally got it right that time. It's just a nice little self-check for you guys that are newer, that are going to be editing your templates. It's a good way to kind of monitor your progress, and it'll kind of clue you in on stuff if you need it. So just an aside there with Save T. This was our Styles Materials tab. Let's talk about Overview just a little bit. Overview, you won't spend a lot of time changing, just like your general info page here with your comment key. There's not a whole lot that you're going to need to say here that's going to change every single time. You can type right in here and change this per report. Maybe there's something specific you want to point out for this one person in your roofing section. You can do that. You can edit a section introduction by going to your auto comment wand, finding your auto comment. You'll know it because it's got a Y in the auto column, and editing, right? That's how you change it permanently. But you get an introduction and a footer for each component. So roofing has one, exterior, so on and so forth. We've given you some text, but depending on your area and your affiliations, you may want to change that text. So you can do that permanently by using your Insert Intro wand here, choosing Edit, and then changing. We do have a link for that we're going to be providing for you at the end of the day. You guys that take complimentary view photos, maybe you're just taking a picture of the whole room when you walk in, or maybe you only take those pictures when you have to. You got to the garage and there's some hoarding going on and you can't get back to the back wall, you need to show that. Those complimentary view pictures can come in here in your overview section. So I can just pull it in here. And that's where my complimentary view would live. So that's where that would go. This is your component. Inspection items, styles and materials, and overview. I'm going to pause. We're going to take some questions on that, and then we'll move on to looking at our summary and actually distributing the report. So any questions that you have so far, go ahead and type them in. We'll take a small break and we'll try to get those answers, as many as we can. So I have a question from Greg C. It's maybe not totally related, but is a little bit. When I make changes to a template in HomeGauge, is it synced to the Android tablet version, or do I need to remember to update the template on the tablet? Greg, you need to remember to send your template to the cloud. That happens under HD Services, Upload Cloud Templates and Settings. On your Android, you'll have an option under HD Services to get templates and settings from cloud. I would encourage you guys to do that every night or every morning. Get into a habit. That way you won't forget to send your new changes. Christopher J. says, can the purchased InterNACHI library of comments be added into the HD list of comments too? Christopher, when you purchase that, Kitten Shepherd narrative from the inspector outlet, which I believe is what you're referring to, they're actually going to send you an email with a link that will auto install their template into your software. So you'll actually have an entirely separate template. There is a way to move comments in and out of templates, an easier way and a longer way depending on what you're trying to do. So the pat answer is under template, you have an export and an import option. So you can go to a template, export the comments, and then go to a new template and import those comments into the new template. There may be an easier way if you're just looking to bring comments over from roofing or a certain area. It kind of depends on what you're going for. So I would encourage you, if you have any trouble with that or just general questions about that I'm not answering, please give me a call. We'll be here till 5 today. I'll be here all day tomorrow. We'll be happy to talk to you about importing comments or using the Kent and Shepherd narrative in general. So again, if anybody needs that number, it's 828-254-2030. You guys would dial 1 to get to technical support. Scott T says, I have an auto comment that is set to show automatically in my template that I want to change. Can you go back over that? Yes, I absolutely can. So the most popular auto comment that you might want to change in your template is probably the one that lives under general info. It's your comment key or definitions, but you can have other comments that are set to be appearing on report start throughout your report. So it's just a matter of when you're in here and you're editing, there's a little checkbox here, automatically include this comment on report start. The instructions are the same no matter where it's from. So I'll take you to overview. You want to open your auto comments list, because that's what it is. You're editing an auto comment. That's your magic wand. Choose that comment from the list. If it's set to be there on report start, it's always going to have a Y in the auto column, so that's a little quick little cheat if you've got a whole bunch to look through. Click it so it's highlighted blue and use your edit wrench. That's the little wrench with the T. You can just edit right in here and then OK yourself out, and you'll see that your Save T button lights up. That's how you know that you made a permanent change. So Greg C says, for clarity, can you purchase more detailed auto comments? Greg, you can purchase narratives from other folks. There are some folks out there that'll sell you what they have. The inspector outlet has the Kent and Shepherd narratives, which is really in-depth, large, kind of all-encompassing template. What I would say there is, even if you purchase somebody else's auto comments, so that you're not just at boilerplate, you are still going to edit their comments. What they have to say is not going to be said in the way that you would say it. You're still going to be saving new auto comments that are in your own words. Eventually, it's going to be your own, no matter how much you pay for it. So you're still going to be customizing, even if you buy them out of the box. But you can. Inspector Outlet certainly has a template for you there, and you might find some others floating around. It's definitely an option, and it'll give you more to start from, but be prepared. You're still going to want to change that language to match your own. You're still going to find stuff maybe that doesn't apply to your region. You're going to customize. There's no getting around that one. Scott T says, if I forget to hit the Save T, will I lose my edits? Scott, no, probably not. If you don't hit Save T and you go to close your software, you're going to get a big old message that says, do you want to save your template? And all you have to do is hit yes. If you don't hit yes there, then yes, you're probably going to end up repeating some of your template edits. But we definitely give you a double check in case you forget. Zach says, will this webinar be available to review at a later date? He's got to run. Yes, Zach, we will definitely have it up on YouTube for you, probably this afternoon, but maybe tomorrow morning, just to kind of depends on how long it takes to convert and all that good stuff. But we will definitely have it available, as well as, if you have any questions, you are welcome to call us at support. That's why we have jobs. 828-254-2030. We will always be there to help you through any kind of thing that you get stuck on or have questions about. So you can always just call us. You can go to Support Center, or you can check out our YouTube channel. That's where we're going to post this little guy once we get it converted. Okay, guys, so let's kind of keep going. I know we're going over our time kind of in a big way. I seem to always do that to you, but we're going to look at our summary real quick, and then we're going to actually do some report delivery. I know that we haven't really pulled a whole lot in to look at on this particular report, but you kind of have gotten the idea. So to look at our summary, or actually let's go to optional real quick. You guys will notice on your sections panel on the left here, you have an optional, just like components. You can click on it, you control your optional items. We put stuff in here that you don't always inspect. So if you're on a job and you're going to inspect the swimming pool this time, you'd come to optional and you'd unexclude your swimming pool. Same for septic, water wells, all that good stuff. So optional is just like components. It's just that we have all of that stuff excluded by default because you may not typically do it. If you're in an area that has lots of swimming pools and you want to have that on all the time, again, just click on the name here, swimming pools, choose your edit T, and just uncheck your exclude by default, and it'll start coming in for you. Okay, so that's your optional, just so we touched on it. And then down at the very bottom of your section panel, you have summary. This is where you can review the items that you've sent to your summary. So you can see I just set one thing. There's my roofing is old with my picture that doesn't make sense, right? But you also have an edit summaries tab here at the top. When you click on that, you can change your summary introduction or footer. So that's kind of like your overview, but for the summary. You can change things about your summary. So you can tell that we only have one right now. If I came up and I hit my edit T, I could change the name of my summary, the abbreviation. I could associate a color with all the items that go to that summary. So I could make all the items that are going to be sent to the summary come out in red if I wanted to. You can also associate an icon. Some people decide to do that just to kind of point out, hey, this is an item you should pay attention to. You can edit your summary to do those things for you if you want to. You can also have more than one summary. So James has a link, and we're going to give that to you in a moment. But to add another summary, it's just your Add T button at the very top. Give it a new name, associated color, abbreviation, all that good stuff. You'll have more than one summary. So some people have a major concerns, a minor concerns, a maintenance. I have a couple of guys floating around out there that have a good stuff summary. They just put items that are good points in there. It's up to you how many summaries you have and how you control them. But that's where you'd go to control them. So it's good to know that. Those are just some little points I wanted to touch on before we got to report distribution. So if you're all the way through your report and you're ready to send it to your customer, make sure you're logged in, HG Services, Enter Inspector HG username. It'll keep you logged in if you hit the little button here that says always remember. Then you don't have to keep going back. But then it's just a matter of upload. So you can use your upload icon. You can go to HG Services and choose to upload report to website, as they're the same icon, same thing. When you hit upload, you're going to get into your print options window. That little window that just popped up was telling me I hadn't answered all of my items, and I'm not sure I really want to distribute this report because it can tell that I really only answered one inspection item in this whole thing. If you guys get that and you're in a real report, you probably want to find out why it's saying that. You can use your drop down at the top here, find unanswered. When you hit find first, it'll take you to the first thing you didn't do, which for me is I didn't fill out my radon test. You can use that for styles and materials specifically, find unanswered in general. You can edit all your photos. If you're using the companion and you're doing voice recordings, you can find all your voice recordings. This little drop down is kind of handy, just so you know about it. So that was that message. You haven't really finished, are you sure? I'm just going to say yes. It's also asking if I want to create a username for Bob. Remember, we added Bob to the report, but he didn't have an email address. So I'm going to say no, because I don't have an email address for Bob. He doesn't get his own username. I just want him in the report. But if you do have an email address for your customer and you're getting that popping up, it means you forgot to hit the Create HG Username button when you were on the customer information page. So you want to say yes if that's what's going on. It's situational. Then you get into print options. For you guys that are brand new to the software, you're probably getting a window right now that says you have to choose a style and format, which if you've done it before is the second tab over in print options. But it'll start you there if you've never done this before. Choosing a style and format is important, definitely. It decides what your report will look like at the end. So we have a couple of options. You can have the grid format where we show the actual grid. You can choose a narrative format where the grid isn't there and we're just saying what we've marked it as here at the top. There are different variations on all of these. You guys that are in Texas, you have a tick box too that Trek requires. Again, Texas is different. If you guys are in Texas and you haven't done this yet, go to File and all the way down the bottom and choose Set All Texas Print Options. If you're in any other state, choose your style and format. You're welcome to it. So you can also choose kind of what color things are in. I'm going to just choose one of the grids here and we'll be green today, right? So if you haven't chosen a style and format, you're going to have to do that before it'll let you keep going. But you can always come back to your print options window and go to the second tab and it will let you choose your style and format all over again. So you can always change it if you pick something you change your mind about later. You also have a logos tab. That's the third one in. This is where you'd put your company logo, as well as, signatures, initials, those fun little badges that InterNACHI and ASHI hand out. You can put those on the bottom of your cover page if you want. It's up to you what you put there. But this is where your logos live in your software. You also have a miscellaneous tab. It handles kind of some random smattering of things. You can change how the titles in your photos come out. Maybe you don't like that it's going picture 1. Maybe you don't want anything there. You can clear that out. Same for comments. If you're doing PDFs, you can change what comes in on the header and the footer. Up at the top here, some little items down here will help you kind of control how those PDFs look. So if you want page breaks between each section of your report, obviously you're going to get a longer PDF that way, but you can choose that just to keep everything separated. If you're in Texas, you definitely want to see include Texas report introduction there. But if you did what I just said and you went to File and you set all Texas print options, that's already taken care of for you. You don't have to worry. Anyway, there's some just random smattering of stuff here in miscellaneous. Good to know that it exists. The very first tab is print document settings. This is the one you're going to be on every single time. You're going to spend most of your time here. You can see that you have some different options for upload here. So if I wanted to send just an invoice, I could. Here's my full report. We've got some different stuff set up in commercial. It uses a different cover page. Texas gets their own print options. If you wanted to edit this, you can click on the name of your document setting and hit edit here. If you wanted to make a whole new one, you'd hit add. You can delete some out for you guys that will never have to send a Texas report. You can get rid of those. You don't have to keep them. I'm going to just edit this full report for upload so you guys can see what it looks like. So when you hit edit, you get into this window with a whole bunch of checkboxes. This is what determines what's included in your report. So if you don't want to have pictures in your summary, you can uncheck that. If you want to send a copy of your agreement along with your full report, you can turn that on with your checkbox. All kinds of different stuff. You'll notice you have 2 tabs up here. Your other tab will let you reorder how things come in. So if you want your summary up top, you can choose summary and you can use your arrows and move it up above the report itself. It's also where you decide if you're going to use HTML or PDF. I'm going to show you just briefly the difference between the two, just so you'll have some sort of an idea on what that looks like. So I'll kind of take over commercial there. You can do more than one upload at a time. If you check off more than one document setting, maybe you want to send the full report, you want to send the invoice separately, and maybe you've created a document setting for your pre-inspection agreement only, and you're going to send that separately as well. You can do that. You can check off more than one. Once you pick what you're going to send, just hit OK, and it'll bring you a little preview. So let me get this preview up on the screen here. I think you guys might be slowing us down. There it goes. All right, so here's our preview. This first tab is a PDF, just so you see what a PDF looks like. You'll notice it's always showing it to you in something other than 100%. It goes off your computer's resolution, so that can kind of make things look distorted, but here's how it scrolls. It's kind of clunky. You have a table of contents, but it's not very interactive. If you notice, here's these items that we didn't exclude and didn't answer: radon and water. My picture doesn't expand. I've got a lot of white space. I accidentally left this guy large, so it's taken up a half a page. Different little stuff that you run into with a PDF that you just don't run into with an HTML. This is your HTML report. You'll notice you can scroll through it really simply. Once it's uploaded, this will be actually expandable, so I can click on my pictures and they'll expand. Videos would play in this. Links would be clickable. Here's my attachments page. These links here need to be in HTML before they're clickable, which means if you're in Florida and you're doing a WinMet and you only put out PDFs, you're going to have to send your other PDF, your WinMet, separately because it's not going to work the attachments page the way it should. But if you'll notice, there's where I typed in click here. That's how you make it a little clearer when you title your attachments. So that's the difference between HTML and PDF. Before I get into actually uploading the report and sending that out to a customer, I'm going to pause briefly for some questions. Since we're about to leave the software, I feel like it's probably appropriate that we just give it a second. So if anybody has any questions on software, now is the time. We will have a question and answer period at the very end of the webinar where you can ask me anything you want. But if you have anything that actually has something to do with what we've been talking about, go ahead and ask. James has actually already answered this one, but I'm going to go ahead and answer it for the group. Scott T says, if you have more than one summary, will it automatically give the option for both tabs at the bottom of the comment section? Yes, it will. I'll show you that real quick because you can manually decide which summary you want it to be in. So let's just add a summary, just a random one. If we come over here to roofing, go to an inspection item, you'll see now you have our original summary, and then here's our new summary. I can check them both. I can only check one. It's up to you. But you just manually control that here at the bottom of your comments area. We'll pause for just a few more seconds to see if anybody has any other questions, and then we're going to go ahead and upload. Guys, for anyone interested, I've just added a handout to your webinar panel. It's just all of the links that we've talked about today, and probably a couple that we forgot to mention that might apply to this webinar, just in case you need to go back and reread something. Make sure you grab that handout before you leave. We're going to go ahead now and upload our report and distribute it to our customer, just so you guys can see how that works. and then we'll open it up to some more general questions for you at the end. So we'll hit upload. We're going to choose our print document setting that we want to send to our customer. So here it is, full report for upload. It's what most of you guys are going to end up using. Just hit OK and it'll show us a preview. So here's my preview. Your logo goes up top, cover page, all that good stuff. You can scroll through and check everything out. You can tell that I obviously didn't fill out a whole lot of my components. With a regular report, you're going to see a lot more detail in there. But if you're happy with your report, you're ready to send it to your customer, you'll just choose upload at the bottom center of your preview here. It's going to give us a little status bar, and at the end of that, it's going to be asking us if we want to send our emails. So just to prep you for that, yes, you do want to send your emails, even if you're not quite ready to send them yet. It's not really sending the email. It's taking you to your HomeGauge dashboard where you can send the emails. So when I hit yes, it's going to open a web browser for me. I'm going to have to pull it to the screen. Bear with me, guys. There it comes. Here's my HomeGauge dashboard. Here's the report we just uploaded. You can see my cover page picture showing up in the little thumbnail. Here's my property address. Here's my report ID. You can see my customer and my rep here. So you can tell I haven't given any viewing permissions, haven't sent anything, nothing's been done. But here it is on my dashboard. So if we're going to send an email to say, hey, your stuff is ready, all we're going to do is click the send emails link right underneath your property address. So here it is, send emails. That's going to take us to a new page where we can grant viewing and forwarding permission for both our customer and our realtor. If I want to grant them all at once, I can click this little guy up top and it'll control my whole list. Or I can just individually grant forwarding or viewing, either one. There's tends to be some questions about the difference between letting someone forward and not. I'm a big fan of granting forwarding permissions, and here's why. When a customer is viewing their HTML report, they're always going to have the option of downloading and saving a PDF of that same report to their computer. There is absolutely nothing stopping that customer at that point from taking that PDF and attaching it to a personal email and sending it to whoever they want. The only difference is that we give them a big giant forward button on their dashboard when you have that option on, and they can click that button, type in the email address, and send their report without having to go through downloading and attaching to a personal email. The reason you should do it is because if they forward through your dashboard, we can track it. We can tell you who they sent it to, when they sent it, how many times. If you've got a rep that you feel like might be taking advantage, you can say, hey, I see that you sent that report to 15 people. Can we talk? Or if you see that someone forwarded a report from 3 months ago to a whole new person, you can email that person because we give you their email address, and you can say, hey, that report is older, but I'd be happy to do a report for you on that property. Would you like me to do that? Maybe book some more business. Either way, all you're gaining from allowing forwarding permissions is more information. We can tell you what's going on if you let them control things through their dashboard. It doesn't stop them from sending the report if you don't give them forwarding permission. It just stops you from knowing about it. So there's my tiny little speech on forwarding permissions. Anyhow, set your permissions however you prefer. You'll notice you have some email messages down here at the bottom. This is what's actually going to go out to the customer. This little guy right here, the $ in the brackets, this is a merge field. This fills in your customer name from a different area, so that if you have more than one customer, everybody gets the right name, things like that. You want to leave that alone. Same for member name and password down here. This is your customer's username and password. Because we have an electronic agreement option where you can have them go ahead and sign their pre-inspection agreement online, we never give you guys access to the username or the password. If we did, it'd be awfully hard to prove it wasn't you guys going to sign your own pre-inspection agreements. So you're never going to see that there, but you don't want to mess with that merge field because you want them to get correct information. But you can type right in here if you've got just a little note that you want to put into the email. It was great to meet you and your daughter today, or whatever it is, you can type right in here. If you wanted to edit the message permanently, in your left-hand main menu, under My Reports, you have an Edit Report Emails option. You can change the defaults. For the most part, you set it, and then you're happy with it, and you kind of keep going. You're not going to probably type a personal note into every email that goes out. So once you're happy, you have a send emails button here and at the very bottom, because we know that you guys are going to set it up and be happy with it and probably not spend a lot of time down here. So you can click either one. They both do the same thing. It's just going to send the email. And then this page here is actually for time release messaging, which I'm not going to really get into today. Let's just say that this is a way to send an automatic message a certain period of time after the report has gone out to your customer. And you could just go through here and schedule it once you have it set up to go out. So you can ask for ratings. You can say, hey, don't forget to get a warranty because I'm not paying for this 2 years from now. Whatever it is, you can schedule your events. If you guys are curious about time release messaging, in your main menu under My Reports, you have a link that says TRM. There's actually a video there that'll walk you through what's going on with that. You're also welcome to call me. I'm happy to chat about all that kind of stuff on the phone with you. So, time release messaging. Anyhow, once you've sent your emails, if you look at your dashboard again, you'll see you've got some checks now. So I've given viewing permissions. I've got a check for both, and I've sent my emails. When my customer or my rep logs in, I'll get a viewed check mark so I can tell they've seen it. We're also going to send out an email to you to let you know when a customer views the report for the first time. If somebody forwards something, or if I'm not sure when I sent my email, I have a history link right here. That'll actually tell me when I sent my emails. If somebody forwards, I'll have information here about when the forward happened, who sent it, who they sent it to. When people view, we log that here under history, so I'll see when they looked at it, how many times they looked at it, all kinds of good information. So for me, knowledge is power, so we give you as much power as we possibly can. I'm going to go ahead and log in as a customer, just so you guys can see what it looks like from a customer side when you go and get the report. And we'll view the report there, and then we'll open up for some questions, okay? At this stage, you guys as inspectors are done. It's up to your customer now to log in and get their report. So I'll go ahead and log out here, and let's be a customer for a moment. So your customer will get an email that says, hey, your report is ready. Here's your username and password, and they'll have a link. You can run them through your website if you want. We have some login form information for you if you want to do that, or you can send them straight to HomeGauge. It's up to you, but your customer will get their username and password in that email. So we're just going to put that in. And this is what a customer dashboard looks like. I went ahead and cleared mine out because normally for customers, you're not going to see more than 1, 2, maybe 3 reports floating around in here, depending on how many they've looked at before they finally buy a home. But if they have multiples, it'll all show up here. They'll view details on the report they're interested in looking at. The newer reports will always show up first at the top. Just as an aside, if they've done business with more than one home inspector, they can click My Home Inspectors and they can find contact information for every home inspector they've ever used. My reports just takes them right back to this page, and then under Account, they can update their information. So if somebody's name is spelled wrong, if somebody wants you to change the email address you have on file, they can do all of that stuff from their dashboard, just so you're aware. But if I want to look at my report now, I'm just going to go hit View Details. Here's my cover page photo. If you've uploaded multiple documents, so an invoice only or an attachments only page for those folks in Florida or something like that, they'll all show up here. But you're just going to click the Inspection Report button to view the full report. This is what a report looks like when it's been uploaded in HTML to HomeGauge. So you'll notice you have a pop-out table of contents. I can travel to wherever I want with this table of contents. I can scroll through if I want to. My links are clickable. So if I click a link, here I go to wherever I'm going. Here's my attachments page coming up. So I can open my PDF. If I click the link, it opens in a whole new tab, right? And then it's going to think real hard because it's a big, giant file, I guess. But there's my WinMet form. All kinds of different stuff you can load up. We'll let that think about it and we'll come back. Here's my invoice. If you'll notice, if I click on this picture, it expands to full size. So I can look at this picture a little bit more closely once it's uploaded. If I had put any videos in here, I'd be able to play my videos. If I click this link up top, I'll go back to my reports. I can provide a rating for my inspector with this link. I can forward my report if I hit email. This is where I would save a PDF, the PDF link. And this little guy right here is here mainly for realtors. They asked for it so much we gave it to them. You can print just the summary. A lot of realtors out there that want to print the summary and put it in a filing cabinet, so we let them have that option. This is what a report looks like after it's uploaded. So here's inspector info, there's my logo, different things. So I'm going to pause. We're going to answer some questions. I'm going to say, this concludes the bulk of our webinar for basics today, since we've gotten all the way through distribution, but we're going to pause. We're going to have some question and answer time. You guys feel free to ask what you will. I'll answer as many as I possibly can before we have to keep going. Anybody that has to run, don't forget that I did put a handout in your webinar panel. Go ahead and download that. That's got a bunch of helpful links from our webinar today. And this will be available on YouTube later on, so you guys will be able to rewatch, or if you missed part of it, you'll be able to come back and fill in where you missed. Jerry says, can you show the customer repair list they can create from the report? So what Jerry is talking about is the create repair request list feature. This is something that is available to your realtors and their customers. Helps them to prepare that request list addendum that they need to turn in with their paperwork. It is not the addendum. This is a PDF that they would have been creating anyway. They're always going to put C attached, in the little couple of lines they give them for the addendum, and attach that to the back of the paperwork. They still have to do their official paperwork, but this does make their lives a little bit easier. When you're looking at this page and you're viewing a document, there's a create request list link right under the inspection report button. When you click on it, it opens up a little widget that'll help you to prepare what you're going to ask the seller for, right? So I can choose just my summary items, or I can choose all items. This isn't going to be very helpful since we didn't fill out a full report, but to give you an idea, it lets us look at the comment by the inspector. Here's the inspector comment. Any pictures or videos will be over here. I can still expand them if I want. If I want a larger image, I can do that. And then at the bottom, I can choose to accept as is, or I can add it to my list. So when I add to list, I can repair, I can replace, or I can choose I want monetary compensation. We can make our own comments as customers and realtors. The create repair request list feature will totally keep up with who made what comment where and when. So if a realtor and a customer is in here at the same time and they're both working on this list, which ideally is what we want to see, some collaboration, since they're going to be collaborating down the line anyway, we'll keep up with who did what when, so they can talk about it if there's a disagreement. So once you get all the way through it, it creates a PDF for you. So now I can view my list. Here's my list. I can send this to somebody else with the send list link. I can download the PDF so I can print it and attach it to my request addendum with the download PDF link. And that's your create repair request list. If I get to the preview area and I'm like, oh, I did it wrong, there's a modify link up at the top as well. That's all there is to that. Anthony Z says, if I attach my inspection agreement and upload the report, is there a way to make them sign the agreement before they can open the report? Anthony, if you upload your agreement separately from the report, so that means if you're in here in your HomeGauge program, you've already got it loaded into the system, you would have maybe a pre-inspection agreement only document setting. A lot of people already have one. If you don't, you can hit add and you can create one on your own. You just need to make sure that you set the document type as an agreement. When you do that, anytime an agreement comes up separately from the report to our dashboard, it will automatically require an electronic signature. It just happens for you without you having to work for it at all. So if I go here and I open my report, oh, I've got it open twice. Okay. Get there eventually. Just check off agreement. You can do this together, so you can send it with the full report, or you can send it ahead of time if you fill out customer report info and miscellaneous. Again, if you use appointments, this is happening for you automatically. You don't have to come into your software to do it. But if you wanted to upload just an agreement, you just hit OK. I don't have an agreement in here, so what you're seeing right now is instructions for how to add it. I set everything back to original download for this webinar. So if you're seeing this as one of my inspectors and you should be seeing your agreement, or maybe you're just not sure how to put your agreement in, like I said, please send your agreement text to support@homegauge.com. We will help you with that. But if you upload an agreement separately, which is what this is, it's going to act just like you upload a report. It's going to say, hey, would you like to send emails? And you'll say yes. But you'll notice when you get to your dashboard that it's got an agreement requirement on there. So let me get logged out of that. It'll log me out of that. Okay. Oh, we're having fun times. There it goes. So you'll see I uploaded this agreement, even though I've already sent my inspection report and viewed it. When I add an agreement on top of it, which ideally you want to do this before you send the report, it requires that signature. So now that it says agreement not signed, if I log in as the customer, even though I've already seen my report, it's still going to force me to sign that before I get in. So let's see, customer. So now when I go to view it, I'm getting a big window that says, hey, you have agreements you need to sign. And I can go in now and I can agree and I can sign. You're seeing some kind of gobbledygook because I didn't really have an agreement there. We kind of did the end run, but there's my signature. We'll record when it was signed. And now when I log back in as an inspector, it'll show me that the agreement was signed. So that happens for you automatically anytime you upload a pre-inspection agreement separately. Yeah. Guys, I'm seeing several of you are actually having some difficulty with the handout that I put into our webinar tab. Anybody having trouble, please let us know. James will record your email address and we'll send that out to you separately if we need to, okay? I'm going to keep this channel open for a while, and so we can get any stragglers in that have questions. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. I think everybody's probably had enough of me, but I'm going to hang out with you guys and answer any questions you have for the next few minutes. So if I've missed something, go ahead and type that in.